Since it first hit the scene in 2017, the Chevy Bolt has been one of the most affordable ways to get you and other people around on electrons alone. Now for the 2027 model, 10 years later, we've got the fastest charging and the longest range that we've seen on a Bolt. So what sort of efficiency can you expect here in the real world on the highway? Well, tonight we find out. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from DM Moto, and tonight we've got the real-world highway fuel economy test on the 2027 Chevrolet Bolt. In this test, I'm going to head out on the highway and do 50 miles out and 50 miles back, averaging 70 miles per hour to get a realistic range figure for this compact, would this be a subcompact? I'd say this is a compact electric vehicle. And before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. Yes, redesigned for 2027 with a different battery, different chemistry, different motors, and a different charging speed up to 150 kilowatts. So a lot of things that Chevy Bolt owners have been asking for. But you essentially still have the Bolt EUV platform, so still a great use of space, still a little bit taller and less sleek than some of the other sedan-based electric vehicles that we see. So this isn't going to be the most efficient at highway speeds, but should be comfortable for 4, maybe 5 people, and with a little bit of junk in the trunk space. So if you do want to see more on this bright orange Bolt, check the link below. We've got a dedicated sound system test and a full pros and cons review. And we also used to own a Chevy Bolt EUV, so if you want to see any of our videos on that, check the link below as well. We were quite fond of that car. Also, we got to give a shout out to the video sponsor, Lasfit. Lasfit already has liners for this 2027 Bolt. You can see how nicely they fit in the cargo area here. This nice flexible TPU, kind of simple but straightforward and functional cargo liner. It'll work in either of these positions, up or down. And then if you need protection for the back seats, whether you got children back here or you're using this for rideshare or anything, highly recommend having this because look how nicely it fits right along, goes all the way through, provides protection for the carpet from people getting slushy, dirty boots in here, anything like that. Even goes up under the seats a little bit, comes out onto the edge, so keep your plastic protected a little bit. And same story up here in the front. The most important one, the driver's liner. Got good protection coming out. Latches down properly with the factory latch points, and then goes well underneath the pedals. Very nice liners there. Check the link below. Use the code DM Moto to get yourself a good, healthy discount on this or any other vehicle. They have quite a few models. So big shout out to Lasfit. So why do we do this test? Well, the EPA's highway range test, which gives this Bolt 106 miles per kilowatt, 106 MPGE, which comes out to about 3.15 miles per kilowatt hour. That test only averages 48 miles per hour. And we know there are plenty of people who do long, extended highway trips and would like to know what sort of numbers you can realistically expect here in the real world at higher speeds. So in order to do that, I'm going to charge the car all the way up, and then we're going to head out at night when there's less traffic, go out and do 100 miles, come back, charge the car all the way back up again, and see what sort of efficiency we report. Now, a few things to note for the test. Outside temperature will be somewhere in the mid-60s. Not going to be too toasty outside or too cold, so pretty ideal temperature conditions for an electric vehicle. We're going to run the tires at their door placard 41 PSI cold, a little bit high there, but not too crazy for an electric vehicle. And we're going to have the climate control set at 73 degrees auto. So, without any further yapping, let's head to the test. Here we are all topped off with electrons, and we are just getting ready to leave the house. 262 miles according to the range meter on a full charge. And with these new Chevys, to reset the trip meter, I'm going to go into here. Vehicle status, trip. It is reset, but we're going to reset it again. And then let's put our energy info. Alright. No, actually we can leave up that one. That's fine. Okay. 1,300 miles on the car. I think we are ready to head out. Kind of a nifty setup here for the climate control because it's single zone, but you got the readout right here for the temp and then your fan speed over there. And I love that they still gave us all of these physical controls. Now, I'm not 100% sold on the screen yet, given the way it's dramatically angled up. It's like you'd have to be way up here to be viewing it properly. However, a few other interesting things to note, even at 100% state of charge, we're still getting very aggressive regen. And let's see. Okay, so it's not battery, it's actually applying friction braking in there. But I'm cool with that. I'm glad that it's doing that. Because sometimes in EVs, when you have 100% state of charge, and I think our old Bolt was like this, the regen wouldn't work fully when you were at 100%. But now it's doing kind of like Tesla does. It's blending the friction brakes in there. I like that. Sometimes these fuel tests are a first impressions drive for me, and that's what's happening here tonight. I have not driven the new Bolt yet, so it's cool to kind of give you my raw first impressions as we head out on this range test. Now, as I always say, the point of this test is not to hypermile. I'm not trying to get the best possible range out of this car, but rather a realistic figure. I want to know if I have a Bolt and I want to go somewhere on the highway and I want to travel appropriate speeds, I want to go 70, what sort of fuel economy, or rather in this case energy efficiency, can I expect? So in order to do that, we're up here at 71 miles per hour. I'm going to set the cruise control there. I'm going to average that for most of the test. It does look like our speedometer is pretty accurate. If anything, we're reading just slightly low. Here we go, 71. Initial impressions, it's actually pretty quiet in here. I'm impressed. Huh. I mean, this is concrete highway we're on. And I have the sunroof open. This is great. Alright. Well, I'm going to continue on with the test and catch up with you at the end. We're going to test out this presumably 6-speaker sound system. In the meantime, enjoy this time lapse of the entire trip. Coming into the end of the highway range test here in the 27 Chevy Bolt. This is a nice place to be. You know, it does feel like an economy car, don't get me wrong. But in this day and age, there's a certain satisfaction in that, I find. The fact that it just feels so simple and straightforward and right. Now, that being said, the seat width leaves a lot to be desired. I am by no means a large individual, but I find my thighs pushing up against the edge and the back edge here of the bottom of the seat. Hasn't gotten worse over the drive, but I noticed it immediately. I still notice it now. However, the seat does have two-way lumbar. There is a decent bit of adjustability, so it's not an uncomfortable seat to be in, but it's just a small seat. What else? Adaptive cruise control has been totally competent. Not really any form of useful lane keeping. Still pretty quiet in here. Sound system decently garbage. I like the ambient lighting. It's a nice little touch around the cabin. And they did a really nifty way of choosing the color. You go over here to ambient light, and you sort of choose a main color, and then they have all these different variations within. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 18 different variations within that main color there. It's a nifty way to do that. I like that. In terms of efficiency, we are looking at 3.4 miles per kilowatt hour according to the vehicle's readout. I don't know if that's good or not. It doesn't seem fantastic, but it doesn't seem bad. So we're going to have to get the car back and charge it all the way up and see what our final numbers are. It does seem like it's putting us somewhere around 240 miles of total range. Oh, also, the center console is a bit too far away and too high for one-handing the steering wheel. When the wheel's up like this, it's actually not terrible. When I put the wheel down into more of a casual, comfortable position for me, this center console lid is too far away. So that's a bit of a bummer. But, other than that, not a bad place to be in here. So, I'm going to get it back to the house. We're going to charge it all the way up, and I'm going to catch up with you in the morning when we have a full battery. Here we are, all charged back up. First thing the next morning, car stayed at 3.4 miles per kilowatt hour for what it thinks was exactly 100 miles, but we ended up traveling 100.8 miles according to our GPS. And it took 31.51 kilowatt hours back into the battery to charge back up to 100. 31.51. We assuming 90% charging efficiency at level 2, so we're assuming that we actually used 28.4 kilowatts to go that distance. So 28.4, we're doing 100.8 divided by 28.4 is giving us, okay, just a dirty round down to 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour, which is pretty darn close to what the car is saying there. So I think somewhere in there, that 3.5, 3.4, we'll give it to it. 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour here for the Chevy Bolt 2027. It's not an EV anymore. It's not that one. It's the 2027 Bolt EV, running at 70 miles per hour. We've got a 65 kilowatt hour battery pack in here. So 65 kilowatt hours times that 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour. It's giving you, okay, so a fair 220 miles of highway driving. Now, it seemed from both our range estimate and the percentage state of charge as we were driving that you might be able to get a little bit more than that. I was thinking more around 240. But obviously you're not going to really have a chance to go from 100% all the way to 0 in the real world. So maybe that 220 figure is a little bit safer for a full charge. And that means if you're road tripping and you were going from, let's just even say 10 to 90%, take 227 times 0.8, you're going to be able to get about 180 miles comfortably going from roughly 90% to roughly 10% and charging all the way back up there. So 180 miles divided by 70, you're going to travel 2 to 3 hours at a time if you're just cruising about 70 miles per hour here in the Bolt before having to charge. At least you got 150 kilowatts charging now, so much quicker. That being said, my wife and I took, when we owned the Bolt just like that, we took it on a road trip. I think it was about 300 miles in both directions, 600 miles total. And we only had to stop and charge the one time, and it was great because we just found a charger that did at least 50 kilowatts, and we got some breakfast. It was a nice time, and the car charged back up, and we continued on our way. So if you, depending on what type of road tripping you do, what type of travel and what style you travel in, it could be a total non-issue. But I assume most people aren't buying this car for big highway miles. They're doing it for more kind of city and local type driving, and 220 miles on a full charge at highway speeds is pretty darn good. For a quick reminder, what did the Equinox EV get? 3.3 for that one there, the Equinox EV. So yeah, a little bit better with the Bolt, not crazy, but not too bad. Another thing worth pointing out is that this version of the Bolt has an LFP battery, which means you can safely charge all the way up to 100% each night without damaging the battery. So for a real world usable daily range, this one is right up there with some of the best of them. One more thing I want to check. Let's just see what the last time we tested the Bolt got. 3.5. Same thing we got on the last Bolt. Okay, so some degree of consistency there. I'd like to see that. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the updated Bolt, check the link below. I'll be spending the whole week with the car, give you my full pros and cons. We'll break down the sound system and everything as well. Big shout out to LastFit for sponsoring the video, giving us these very nicely laid out mats here for the Bolt. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.